I'm so happy you're here, and I can't wait to share what we got going on today.
Irrelevant news.
Let me just finish talking real quick.
To me and the people who don't understand what makes that a joke and not just a shitty statement.
Of course. There is such a thing as labeling jokes. Joke, it's a genre of jokes that typically used in improv and in roasts to label something or objects certain things. So by saying like one of the...
Can I just say he's not wrong, but this is his definition right here is the definition of like if you're doing stand up, right? And you're on a stage and there are people watching you and you have a story and a plot and there's things that are going on, you know, within the brain that makes that connect to that, and then boom, there's a joke, right? But when you're on Twitter and other platforms and you're just doing things differently, like that comedy is different.
The guy she's roasting looks like Santa Claus who touches kids at a mall. That's a labeling. That's, essentially saying that he's the pedophile. He looks like Santa Claus. So that's a labeling joke.
I want to know who heard that and was like, yeah, Santa Claus, right? Yeah, like the kids on the block. Yeah, that was funny. I really want to know who did that. And also, let's not forget that it really can't be a joke if you are tagging the FBI.
At the end of the day,
Fill the room with the juice. That's a lot of loot. That bit fire. Yeah, she kinda.
Welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for giving me the time to really get myself together. Because listen, there has been a lot of stress. There has been panic attacks. There has been a lot of things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. And that is why I got off of Instagram, because I cannot handle the level of stalking and draining of my energy that's going on.
Stalking the shit out of somebody over here. And then you're like, why am I thinking of this bastard? Eight of Pentacles reverse. I haven't given them a thing. I haven't called them. I haven't talked to them. Three of Swords. All you remember about them is the pain they did you.
So I just got out of my third therapy appointment, virtually of course, this week. I am literally going to therapy 3 times a week right now. It's getting crazy. But I have added on sexual trauma abuse onto it. So I have learned so much, and it now makes so much sense of just everything that I've been going through, even from Vegas, having the panic attack on the airport, in the airplane, all of that stuff. So basically, I thought that I was R-word, but in reality, I was IDIS, I believe it is. Is it IDSI? No, it's IDSI, which, if you guys don't know, it's basically involuntary R-word. So that's when you're in a situation where you're being R-worded, but you don't even know, saying no, but it is still happening, whether you're into it or not, but your words are like, no, I don't want to do this, but it still happens. And this is actually a crime. I wasn't even anywhere close to aware of this. My therapist has recommended that I go to the police, but I know that if I do that, that is really going to put someone's life into a very different ballgame that I don't even know if they're prepared for. That can be being in prison for over 20 years, and that is absolutely terrifying. And so I didn't want to really talk about this. I didn't want to bring my personal life into obviously my public life, but I do think it's really important because there are people out there that this may happen to, and they literally could just KMS, right? They could just literally like they're done, it's over, like depending on what they've gone through in life, right? And what I've realized is that I was basically operating from my trauma. So reason being of me having the panic attacks, me not telling people about the situation, me kind of hiding the situation, all of that stems from my first encounter as a young, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, of being molested. And basically I just thought it was my fault, right? I thought it was my fault. Clearly it's my fault. I'm the dumb one. Everything's my fault, blah, 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 blah. Which in reality, no, I was just operating from an unhealed little girl. And that's like really scary to say out loud and to even accept within myself, to be completely honest with you. But I do think that it's extremely important that I speak publicly about this because I know I'm not the only one. I actually talked to one of my best friends for over 4 hours, or I think it was like over 3 hours. And she was sharing with me of situations that she's gone through from 14 years old, and again, involuntary situations where women are saying no, but they're still being objectified or touched or whatever you want to call it, right? And so it's been really hard for me to see this within myself and realize kind of what happened and why it's led me to where I am right now. So with that being said, I really, and let me tell you, really didn't want to do this, but my friend is like, she's actually pissed that I haven't gone to the police or said anything publicly. So I do want to make a video of what happened in that situation, who the person is, because they do have a public platform where they have a lot of attention and they are able to do this to anyone else if they wanted to.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of evidence for reprehensible sexual behavior on the part of people who can use power to get away with it.
So I would be making a video with their first and last name, their Instagram, along with their Twitter, their face, basically, for everybody to know, stay clear of this person because this is what they could do to you. And I don't want anyone to go through the emotional turmoil and mental strain that I have been going through for the past like 2 to 3 months. I think it's really unfair, and I think it's really sad that we live in such a world where humans feel the need to be so malevolent to other people, especially without learning that lesson, without the apology, without caring. I personally think it's disgusting. And my therapist basically said, okay, so if this was your friend and your friend told you this situation, would you be upset that they kept it from the world and wanted to hide that person and make sure that that person was good, even though that person did hurt to them or that person damaged them in some way? And it's so interesting, you guys, because I immediately was like, yeah, no, I would hate that. And she was like, so why are you doing that to yourself? And boom, there it goes. It just goes back to my coping mechanisms of being quiet, being silent, shutting off the world, and not wanting to tell anybody what I'm going through and assuming that I can do it all by myself. When in reality, that's just not the case, and we all are gonna need somebody at some point. So I need you guys right now. I'm not gonna make this decision for myself. Press 1 in the comments. I know it's gonna do a lot to my reputation and that other person's reputation because I don't necessarily want to do this, but I do also feel that what was done was so wrong and I really don't want anyone else to go through it. So with that being said, all of this content that I have been consuming with Papa Gut and Deaf Noodles actually triggered me, you guys. I didn't even know that it was triggering me. I had no clue, but I started having nightmares and flashbacks of just like all of the really bad sexual encounters that I've been in. And it's really scary. Like, for example, I had my therapist, she made me write down basically all the times I've been either sexually assaulted, molested, R-word, all of that stuff. And it was absolutely terrifying to see that it was well over like 8 times. And I'm literally only 30 years old. So we're healing.
Being self-aware and mentally ill at the same time is so exhausting. Because not only do I know when I'm being self-destructive, I watch myself do it anyway.
Okay, we're healing. I know the beginning of this video is very heavy right now. I know there's some of you that are like, oh my gosh, is she really saying this publicly right now? What is going on? But yes, I am, because I am not going to silence myself anymore. I'm really, really not. I'm really sick of all of the hurt and the trauma that I've been through.
2006, huh? 2006. Let's do a little capsule, shall we? Hey, Pearl with your big head. Cool. Hey, dumbass. Cool. Hey, Pearl, your ass is so big, shit, and your titties is like my D, and that's big. Hey, big ass, you gonna be my hoe one day. Cameron. What it is, Pearl, it was tight with you here, and that booty too, LOL. Well, stay nice and keep that trunkin' in shape. If you know what I mean, your boy Justin. AKA your daddy. Let's just read the last part. You got a big head. I'm gonna cover this one up because I don't want to get in trouble, but you know what that is. Very, very, yes, that is, yeah, 2006. Yeah, writing, drawing, private parts in yearbooks, correct. This is your homeboy David. You have a big crack heels. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't want to go out with you, but you didn't want to go out with me. I still love you and I still do. Best friends forever. But see, this one is my favorite. This one right here. What up, Pearl? I ain't gonna lie, but you are pretty sexy, and I did want to get with you until I got with Desiree.
I'm just sick of it. So that is why I had to take a break. My therapist actually suggested the day after I got off of Instagram and said like I wasn't going to post any more videos for a while, that I should take like a full break for at least like 3 to 4 days and really just kind of get myself ready to consume this content, because what's happening is subconsciously it's coming into my brain, and then when I'm done and I'm editing and I'm talking about it or whatever it may be, I do come off very blunt, like, oh yeah, well, I've been through this, so da-da-da-da. And then, of course, when I'm by myself and there's no camera on and I'm not with my friends or I'm not on social media, those thoughts and that trauma then begins to take over, which is really, really, really scary. So we are on a full healing of sexual trauma right now. I have been going to therapists and counselors, I should say, for so long, dealing with other things. I haven't necessarily honed in on the sexual aspect because I just felt like, why should I care about that when I've been told my entire life that nobody cares? I actually can recall a time where I was touched, sexually assaulted, whatever you want to call it, in high school. And I actually went to my parental. Not even going to say which one, I'm just going to say parental. Those that know me, you know which one I'm talking about. And they basically just said, you know, get over it. That's what men do. And there's nothing you can really do about that. Men are always going to take advantage of you. And having these sort of beliefs kind of seeped into you at such a young age and such a pivotal, you know, moment of your life of adolescence and then going into, you know, your adulthood, it really does shape and change who you are. That freaking being said, you guys, that is why I had to take a hiatus. That's why I had to take a break. I had to actually really get myself together because I was literally having my energy drained to the point where I was hyperventilating. And it was extremely scary because I was by myself. I had to take all my clothes off. I'm like hot. I'm literally in flight or flight mode at this moment. And then of course that next day I immediately scheduled a therapist appointment because I just personally don't know how much longer I'm going to be continuously hurt by people. And it's honestly really sickening. It's making the world such a hard place to be in. But I also know that there's a reason I started this channel and there's a reason that I talk about these certain things, because so many people are silent on it. They're terrified. They're scared. They're like, oh, well, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? And in reality, it's one of those situations that if you said no, you said no. It doesn't really matter how you felt. You had an answer. It wasn't respected. And that is what we call, what I now know is IDSI. So I'll put the definition so you guys can see it, but regardless of that, we are now 10 minutes in, so let's hop into this video. I'm not gonna have an outro in this video at all. We're gonna go all the way through. I wanna completely finish this video. It's only 30 minutes left. So, part 8, okay, part 8 of Confronting Deaf Noodles live. Oh, before we get in this, I did see your message and we will react to it. I'll get into it for sure because I actually have no idea what you're talking about. And let me tell you, I have been listening to motivational videos I haven't even been on any YouTube content. I don't know what's going on. I saw something about like Shane Dawson saying his channel was dying or something like that. I don't even freaking know. Let alone do I care. Plus, I was like browsing, I should say. And guess what I found? The conspiracy palette. And guess how much it was? $8. And guess how much they owe me? $44. So if you're brand new here and you don't know what I'm talking about, I never got my Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star conspiracy palette that I paid $44 for. Never got it. It was never delivered and they did not care. I have a whole video on it if you want to see it. But besides the damn point, I was so damn mad when I saw that plate. It was $8. I was like, first of all, it should have been $8 the first time. That's where I'm upset. But anyways, let's hop in here. Let's see what's going on in the streets of Death and Papa Gut. And let's just finish this series all the way up, shall we? Also, if you can hear like anything in the background, it's my dishwasher. And it's so loud, like, I don't know, I can hear it, I don't know if y'all can hear it, but it's annoying the heck out of me right now. But anyways.
What I said before, let's just do a closing statement and I'll just walk off. That's totally fine. Dennis wants to keep engaging in the conversation, but like if you want Dennis do a closing, I'll do a closing. You can keep your live going.
Sure. I feel like, first of all, I don't think Dennis knows how to even do a closing statement, because I remember the first time I watched it and I was just thinking, I don't think he understands what that is. And it also made me think, did Papa Gut take like debate classes? Because if he did, then this makes sense.
So if you want to do like a closing thing out, we could bang out. That's totally fine.
Sure, I think, Dennis, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I honestly, I appreciate, helping mediate and everything. I just don't think, I don't know if we can get anything else out of this conversation. Plus, like, I gotta be completely honest with all of you, I'm a little tired right now because I've been talking so long. But yeah, whatever you think is easier, let's, if we want to do that, then let's do that. Do some closing or whatever it is, and move on.
Sure. You want to go first?
It's just like, even the way, like, that whole sentence that he just said, it's just like, get it together. What are you saying?
Well, you should go first. Go ahead.
No, it sounds like you want to go. You got a lot to say.
Could I just interject really quickly? Because I just think it would be conducive for you to just explain what made that a joke, what made the pedophile joke a joke, because I don't claim to understand comedy. I don't. I'm not funny in any way. So explain to me and the people who don't understand what makes that a joke and not just a shitty statement.
Of course. There is such a thing as labeling jokes. Joke, it's a genre of jokes that typically used in improv and in roasts to label something or objects certain things. So by saying like one of the...
Can I just say he's not wrong, but this is his definition right here is the definition of, like, if you're doing stand-up, right? And you're on a stage and there are people watching you and you have a story and a plot and there's things that are going on, within the brain that makes that connect to that, and then boom, there's a joke, right? But when you're on Twitter and other platforms and you're just doing things differently, like, that comedy is different, right? Like, think about someone doing a skit on TikTok or on Instagram or something like that, right? If you brought that to a stand-up, it would really have to be done in a way that makes sense, because it would also be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking like that? Like, it's just a different way of explaining your joke, and I just don't think that this definition, it's not a good fit here.
Roast, there is roast jokes. Is one of my friends said this joke, they said it at a roast. It's like the video has like 5 million views on YouTube. You can probably look it up. It was at the stand. Really? So she essentially says that the guy she's roasting looks like Santa Claus who touches kids at a mall. That's a labeling. That's, essentially saying that he's the pedophile. He looks like Santa Claus. So that's a labeling joke.
I want to know who heard that and was like, yeah, Santa Claus, right? Yeah, like the kids on the block. Yeah, that was funny. I really want to know who did that. I want to know who out of this, almost 52,000 views, heard that part and was giggling. I want to know who them people are, man, so bad.
Don't get at roasts, So what I essentially did was that type of joke. It was a labeling, So, it was more on the nose than, something left up to for you to, come up to that conclusion. But that's what made it a joke. It was,
Why was that a joke and not what Keemstar says now that he saes it's a joke, though? Wasn't it just a labeling joke? No, but he says he was joking. So if he had comedian in his bio, would that have meant that none of it would have mattered?
I mean, I can't litigate what's going to happen, right? Like this whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think we should do that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's relevant to the conversation since it shows an incredible cognitive dissonance between the way they interacted with me and the way Keemstar interacted with you. But I understand why you can't talk about it because you have litigation. But thankfully, this whole interaction is going to make you lose your case. So
let me just finish talking real quick. I explained this earlier to the best that I could explain it. Okay, and you're free to go back and listen to the difference between my statement and his statement. Okay. I explained it very plainly. I walked you through it. This is maybe the 5th time that I explained it in this whole thing. There's a very big difference. And that was it.
And that's the fact that you did it for a week and he did it for one post, right? That was the difference.
Look, I thought we were doing closing statements.
Well, then close the statement. Somebody else has a question. Just close the statement, Dennis. Go ahead, close.
I think that, and By the way, it sounds like he's saying that this could have been a labeling joke, same as if, somebody looks disheveled and they said this person looks homeless or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying whether it's funny or
that's
not.
harmful, but okay. Dennis, let's just have Dennis close his statement. Go ahead.
I don't disagree, but let's move forward.
Paige knows what this is about, and you don't, and I'm very sorry, but it feels very one-sided towards Def. In your defense towards everything is more in like Def's favor rather than Papa Gut. Def didn't make just one joke. It's the way he worded things. It's the way that he kept on going on and on and on and on for days.
And also, let's not forget that it really can't be a joke if you are tagging the FBI. Like, hello, sir. Now, if you was like FBE or what's the other one? WFF? Is it W or WWF? Whatever it is, if you did something like that, like, okay, like he's an animal. I don't know, right? But the FBI, Def. Come on now, dog.
So it's not about these things.
And he's still doubling down that it was okay. I mean, that's something that nobody's really acknowledging.
I don't want to say I'm not taking anybody's side, and like I said,
I think that you are without
those
realizing
jokes were
it.
in poor taste, but
you are. And I understand. Def did something good for you, so you want to have his back. But in cases
I really
like
felt
this,
for Papa when I watched that video. I didn't think it was cool, and it really made me feel like there was a lot of miscommunication going on here, and there's a lot of potentially there's just a lot of distaste for each other. And
where was the miscommunication? I wish someone paused her right there and said, "Where was that miscommunication? Where was it? And can we go back and look at it?"
And that happens.
True, but the thing you have to understand is the distaste from Dennis doesn't come from this isolated incident. When we had our first interaction, it really comes from a conversation. Okay. Where he's yelling and screaming at me while I'm trying to have a conversation with him. There's a lot here. There's a lot of history. And I understand that you had a really good interaction with him, and I think that's great. There seems to be times where Dennis can be a good person, but for some reason, he's just not a good person when it comes to me. I don't know why, but like he's displayed that. And that's like the reality of what's happening here. And it's very much all like it's just all over the internet. You can watch my videos. I go in depth on every single thing, right? So that's the biggest issue.
I understand that. And I'm empathetic towards that. And I apologize if it sounds like I'm skewing one way or the other. I'm just really trying to let you guys have a conversation, like I said.
I'd like to end like Dennis, just closing statement, I'll close and then.
Yeah, do your thing.
Well, no, you go first.
I'll let you go. Gentlemen, go.
All right, sure. All right, so here's my closing statement. Here's the reality.
What was that?
I've interacted with you for quite a while. After our first interaction, you made a massive mistake that you admitted, right? You've apologized multiple times profusely. At that time, I was being very charitable, and I was taking it as you were being genuine, right? I DM'd you. I said, we can get like a beer, this and that. Like I was trying to really resolve that thing, despite everybody saying I shouldn't. Moving forward to this, your unprompted targeting of me in this weird way where you admitted that like you were never genuine in the first place has absolutely triggered me understanding, at least when it comes to your interaction with me, that you are wildly dishonest, at least when it comes to me. I don't think that you can, I'm never going to accept the apology because it doesn't come from an actual place of honesty. You've been doing your best to frame this conversation in a really dishonest way. And I don't think that you really care. I think that if nobody gave you backlash, your own community didn't give you a substantial amount of backlash, you would have doubled down and you would have felt powerful about it. But the reality is that I don't feel powerful going after people that I think are weaker than me because that's what a pathetic person does. I would never do that to the smaller content creator, and I would never disrespect somebody like that. I don't think it's funny to make these types of disgusting jokes. I made one before, even though it was in good context to try to call out a predator, which is something, or an alleged predator, which I've used my platform to do multiple times. It was still inappropriate, and I am the reason.
And let me just say, like, Papa, you coming for these predators, I gotta hand it to you, because the second my therapist said, why don't you go to the police and report this person? I was like, you want me to do what? Like, I was like, I don't like, but you know, it takes two people. It takes two. And she's like, yeah, it takes two, but you said no, and it still happened. And then they asked you why you had sex with them after, and you told them why, because they wouldn't stop and they wouldn't take no for an answer, which is the definition of involuntary. And I was sitting there just like, well, goddamn. Like, I don't know if I can do, I don't know if and that is why I am telling you guys to press 1, because I personally, I don't want to be malevolent, right? I don't want to cause people pain, but I also don't want to be silent and have this happen again to someone else who will remain silent and do something even more drastic. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to me how much, like, you really gotta have the balls to do that, like to go after predators, because like even right now I'm terrified to do so. I don't want to do so, but I also feel like the injustice that was displayed through my interaction and could easily happen to other females, I feel like I'm doing myself and the world a disservice by not saying anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's so interesting. And then like my best friend was like, you better say something. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you saving him? Who is this man? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's just not in my heart. So it's like, it's a big job. It's a big job. And like, we got to give Papa some credit for that, you guys. Because I mean, one, people are obviously going to come for you, whether they're on that other person's side or your side. Either way, there's going to be an opposing view. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what Def was thinking. Like, his whole channel is literally centered around it.
And why people still talk about it, because it is something that I talk about as a failure in my career, okay? But you continuously are doubling down, thinking it's funny to invalidate, and this is what happens when you joke about these things. It's invalidating to abuse victims. Now, I get it. In your sphere, you do you. Anybody can do whatever they want in their sphere. I'm not part of your sphere. It's not appropriate to make pedophile or rape jokes. Other people might think so, and if you want to do that, be my guest, but I think it's disgusting and invalidating, especially as somebody who purports to care about social issues, right? If somebody else who didn't give a fuck about any like politics or something made these jokes, like a lot of the commentary community, I don't really take it as personally, but you pretend to care, and you've shown time and time again that you don't. I don't think you're honest. I don't think that you're genuine, and I think that moving from here, you're going to do your best to reclaim your career. But I'm telling you, Dennis, stop trying to interact with me, and I won't interact with you if you stop talking about social issues. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about, because you are actively having a harmful impact on the social sphere. Your conversation with Christian Walker was insane. You let him get away with everything under the sun. You pushed back like one time. It was disgusting. You didn't push him back at all with like the homophobic shit he was saying whatsoever. Like, you've proven time and time again that you shouldn't be talking about these topics, and that's totally fine. Some people don't have an interest. I think that's totally cool. You shouldn't have an interest. It's fucking insane. But I do, and when you assassinate conversations in like different social narratives over and over again, you've proven yourself that maybe you should stick to talking about how big of a shit Trisha Paytas has taken. That's my closing statement. I'll never accept an apology because I don't think you can be genuine. But if you show me that one day, I'll cut my leg off and I'll send it to you. How does that sound?
Drops freaking mic. Yo, I can't.
Well, that was surely a lot.
That's a closing statement, Beth. Thank you.
Okay, you gonna let me talk, or you gonna interrupt me, even in my closing? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, all right. Sorry, going into the other room. My dogs. So, I mean, you said a whole lot of stuff, and like, honestly, there's a whole lot of it that's just like trying to frame me as like the most evil human being in the world, and like the worst person ever, and I'm like such a bad person, and you know, like,
weak people are a problem in general. And I don't mean physically weak, I mean cowardly, let's say, and deceitful, because I'm thinking it more in terms of moral weakness. Well, there's a variety of reasons. First of all, if you can't support your own weight, let's say, then someone else has to do it.
I'm just awful, completely awful.
I think you just need some healing, baby. It's really all it is. I don't think you're a terrible, awful person. You know what I mean? Like, it's just some things that you do, you gotta understand the consequences. And if you don't understand the consequences, you need to open up your eye. You need to open it up wide and see why there would be a consequence to it. You know what I mean? Like,
do you never see that showing weakness can be a strength too?
Not weakness, vulnerability. That's a whole different thing. To admit to the fact that you're vulnerable, that's a form of courage. That's not a form of weakness. But that leads you to take whatever steps are necessary to deal with that properly. It isn't some facade that you're invulnerable. No one is invulnerable by any stretch of the imagination. And to stand up and face that is the best route that you have.
I don't know, y'all. The way I'm about to be celibate for 5 years, please, let me be quiet.
Right? According to you, even though we really have never interacted. I mean, we had that debate, I guess, and then later on we had, I guess, just about this past week, had somewhat of a Twitter interaction. The people who actually know me and have met me and are around me daily know that I'm not a badly intentioned person. I don't do things to with the intention of harming someone or destroying their lives. I try to as best as possible, and throughout these hours that I've been here talking to
you, tag the FBI. I'm not understanding how you don't get that part. That's the part that's really, let's say he didn't do that. If he didn't do that, then I'd be like, okay, Dennis, you have some things to work on. But you tagged the FBI and you're trying to tell me that you didn't mean to do no harm? Explain yourself. Explain yourself, please.
Numerous people, not just you. I've been talking to a lot of different people today and hearing them out and trying my best to explain where I'm coming from so they can understand where I'm coming from. At the end of the day, I honestly just want to make peace. And if you don't want to accept it for some reason, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Honestly, I don't really want to, create more reasons to have conflict, especially on the internet. There's already a lot of negativity.
Let's just talk about this closing statement real quick, because a closing statement shows what you have learned through this interaction. Sir, you are butchering.
And surely some of my jokes and some of the statements that I made, have helped propagate some negativity. So, at the end of the day, not perfect. Gonna do my best to have better statements in the future. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I just want to. I think it was cool to have you on, so that we could essentially, try to make peace and come to an understanding. I know this at certain points was very confrontational. I hope everybody who's been listening, and voiced their thoughts feels like they were able to voice everything that they wanted to voice. I hope everybody who's, been following along for the last few hours was able to, get some insight into what's going on. I really appreciate everybody who stuck around. I appreciate, everybody who spoke. I appreciate Nick, who was a host for a certain time. I appreciate Ari. I appreciate, you, Papa, everybody else. I like my own tweet. Thank you for stopping by.
Hey, Dennis.
Yeah.
Before you close out, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to moderate. I know, Papa, you don't know me, but I think it was appropriate since there was horrendous and untrue things published about me in the New York Times by Taylor Lorenz. And I am basically the biggest advocate here for people who are unfairly smeared publicly. I lost my career.
My mic is muted, so I can't speak.
The darkest place
because I'd like to talk about Taylor Lorenz
after it happened. So I'm extremely sorry that you were both in this situation, and I hope that everyone has a chance. Put it out the coupe in the lot, 12 for a squat, all the bells out the box, hit the